He'd long believed his judicial robe would cloak him forever, an unassailable armor against any reckoning. But when Judge James Boesburg began shielding political insiders, Pam Bondi flipped the system on its head with a force that stunned the nation. She stood at a podium in Tallahassee, hair pulled taut, her voice steady yet piercing, delivering her words without a script. No teleprompter, no notes, just a stack of sealed documents beside her, a silent testament to her resolve. Her eyes locked onto every camera and reporter in the room as she declared, "This isn't about politics, it's about integrity, and Judge Boesburg has broken it." That line lit the fuse, its echo bouncing across screens in homes, courtrooms, and meeting halls. People didn't know what to make of it. A sitting judge facing criminal charges felt like fiction, not Tuesday's news. Bondi didn't waver, her words cutting through the murmurs. She didn't smile. She didn't need to. Just 48 hours earlier, whispers had stirred in the Department of Justice. Soft rumors of a sealed file, an audit, and a sensitive case review targeting Boesburg, a federal judge known more for his connections than his rulings, a name most Americans hadn't known until now. Bondi had been watching him for months, her suspicion sparked by a Friday ruling in D.C., where Boesburg blocked the deportation of 5 people tied to Trenderagua, a gang that raveled even IC veterans. She called it sabotage, not error. His order was vague, verbal, with no signed paper to enforce it. Homeland Security, assuming the lack of documentation gave them leeway, moved ahead, only to face a media storm and protests within hours. Behind the scenes, Bondi met with DHS and White House counsel that night, reportedly saying, "He's protecting criminals, he's hiding behind the law." That call sparked action, not just politically. Her team had already built a case with clerk interviews, whistleblower memos, and encrypted logs, preparing for war. In her Tallahassee address, Bondi didn't list every charge, but she hinted at obstruction of justice and misconduct, pointing to a pattern of rulings off legal rails in national security cases. Viewers were torn. What shocked them more, her words or that someone had finally said them. News anchors stumbled over headlines, legal experts raced to explain, and young lawyers in chat groups whispered, "Is this real?" Bondi, always tough, had escalated to a new level. She wasn't just criticizing a judge, she aimed to dismantle his legacy, ruling by ruling. Days later, her statement fueled debates. Critics called it political revenge. Supporters hailed her courage, but all agreed this was no stunt. She'd ignited a blast still growing. What drove her? Why Boesburg? Why now? Before the uproar, James E. Boesburg was untouchable, a Georgetown and Yale law grad with a network spanning K Street to Capitol Hill, a man you didn't challenge, not from fear, but because he played the game perfectly, at least outwardly. His rise began in DC's courts, first as an associate judge, then lifted by Obama to the U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia, and by 2020, chief judge of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court, overseeing critical security matters. Over time, his rulings drew scrutiny, not one moment, but a trend. In Honolulu, when the FBI botched surveillance applications, Boesburg's review was soft. Cautions, no penalties, no deterrence. Critics muttered he'd grown too cozy protecting systems, not judging them. Bondi tracked him quietly, his name popping up in cases beyond the bench, immigration, executive power, where she saw him shaping outcomes, not just ruling. Then came the deportation order, legally fuzzy and deliberate, Bondi thought. DHS was stunned. No paperwork, an email read, "Hold flights over a hallway remark." They didn't. Flights went. And Boesburg threatened contempt, but analysts noted no written order existed. Bondi's team raged. This was obstruction, not oversight. Bondi ordered a dive into Boesburg's record, rulings, notes, clerk memos, scheduling oddities, personal ties, seeking conflicts of interest. They found a spike in unreported exchanges in cases tied to Signal, an encrypted app turning into a legal minefield. In 2024, A lawsuit claimed Trump-era officials used Signal to dodge records on sensitive ops. When it hit Boesburg's desk, red flags rose. He knew players named in discovery, yet didn't recuse, instead sealing hearings and limiting access. Bondi was sure he'd shielded them, burying evidence or stalling until trails faded. The DOJ pulled cold logs, subpoenaed emails, and pieced together mismatched timelines, delays, lost files. Edited logs formed a pattern. Bondi saw Boesburg guarding secrets, not justice. By the deportation ruling, she'd set her course, only timing remained. But it wasn't just law driving her. Something personal shifted. In a cramped DOJ room off Constitution Avenue, reeking of toner and stale coffee, Bondi sat with advisors, arms crossed, jaw tight. A white noise machine hummed, but tension crackled. "We can't ignore this," she told Deputy Counsel Arlene Stokes, staring him down. A slim folder lay between them, not thick, but lethal, holding 3 or 4 torn sheets. Inside were Signal chat snippets from a third-party subpoena. Someone had sent them to Bondi, not the press. One stood out, a staffer to Boesburg. Months before Signalgate, wrote, "They'll drop some in March, Jay, but I've got it handled." Bondi read it thrice, hands shaking, not fear, but realization. Stokes downplayed it, could be nothing. But she snapped, "It's not just this. It's the pattern. Redactions, verbal orders, hidden hearings. Too clean." Her next words turned the tide. "I won't let this rot in an IG report 3 years out." The next 72 hours were chaos. Legal prep, PR plans, counsel talks. They wanted impact, not leaks. 2 days prior, she called a trusted Phoenix judge, who warned, "You'll burn bridges." "I'm here to clean house," she replied, knowing the cost but refusing to flinch. This wasn't just about law anymore. A mother's letter from Corpus Christi had made it personal. Her son, a border agent, was crippled in a botched op involving Trendaragua suspects freed by Boesburg's hold. "Politics break lives," she wrote. "My son can't walk. The culprit's shielded by a judge who won't face us." Bondi kept that letter close, a reminder of duty, not spite. When she named Boesburg publicly, launching an investigation, she was all in. Reputation, role, credibility on the line. Signalgate grew legs. Signalgate flooded TV, podcasts, Reddit, not just an app, but who used it, what they hid, and why Boesburg buried it. Signal's rise under Trump alarmed intel circles. Staffers and officials used it to curb leaks, but its auto-delete defied government's need for records. A San Diego watchdog sued, laughed off until documents showed gaps, erased calendars, missing files. Names emerge, ex-advisors, a defense undersecretary, even Boesburg's old consultant. He stayed on the case, closed hearings, and brushed it off as routine. Bondi's team cracked Signal logs via a security loophole, not easy, but legal. A message shown. "GP says bury it in Petriol. No files, no fuss. Go loud if forced." Days later, he delayed discovery. A chess move, Bondi thought, guarding players across party lines. She told her team late one night, "If we don't act, this seal's shut, the public stays blind." An advisor asked, "A cover-up." He knew who'd be named, she said, and picked loyalty. That phrase hit the press, a cry for those seeing her fight as justice, not revenge. Pushback came. One group decried her attack on judicial freedom. A Yale prof called it political poison, but the public watched, asking, if Boesburg's clean, why not cooperate? More names surfaced as she dug. By charging him, DC shook. She stood with DOJ investigators, calmly listing obstruction, misuse, concealment, and recusal failure. Messages released hinted at read schedules and cozy emails, not proof alone, but corruption sent. Boesburg went silent. His clerk claimed honor, but his allies cried witch hunt. Boesburg's silence fueled the fire. People wanted him to speak, explain, show accountability. not hide behind clerks. Supporters grew: veterans, business owners, IC agents, ex-clerks. Some backed him, but more shared whispers. A Laredo interpreter saw deportation files vanish under him. An Ohio paralegal was told to delay filings for his court. No bombshells, but a picture formed. Bondi's last interview before silence was blunt. "Let consequences come. I'd rather lose my seat than my spine." That stuck. On mugs, stickers, ads, critics mocked, but it endured. Pretrial prep began, slow and rare for a judge's trial, but eyes stayed glued. Lines drew. Bondi's camp saw a needed reckoning. Boesburg's, a political hit. A quiet storm brewed. Trust. In Alexandria, Boesburg appeared, escorted past reporters, suit crisp, face blank. The once powerful judge, now a defendant. Charges read clinically. He pleaded not guilty. Outside, a split crowd waved signs. No shadow justice, and flags for Bondi. The question lingered: can we trust judges? They'd seemed untouchable, above campaigns, Twitter spats, TV gigs, just ruling, accepted. Now, a mask slipped. Bondi stayed low post-arraignment, her ting confident. An aide brought a letter from a Santa Fe clerk. In 2017, Boesburg freed a man who later killed a deputy. Unreported. Hushed. More tales surfaced. Favoritism, off-record calls. Rulings tilting just enough to question. His ting called it overreach, but couldn't explain messages, delays, or vanished logs. People picked sides. Some warned of a precedent targeting judges. Others saw accountability as justice's route. Senators split, some with Bondi, others probing her. She held firm as Americans, once apathetic, now watched C-SPAN, read transcripts, debated justice anew. Not about her or Boesburg, but power's limits. In diners and break rooms, trust was the talk. A verdict loomed, deciding if this was scandal or shift. One spring evening, it came. No fanfare, just a gavel. Boesburg wasn't fully guilty. Some charges dropped, evidence gone, but two stuck: concealment, misuse.